if you doubted me. Cause at the end of the day, it's me looking out for me, my motivation. So, fuck if you doubted me.
Hey everyone, what's up? How you doing? Been a minute. I'm back. So today's video, I'm gonna kind of bring it down a bit. I wanted to just talk about my baby, my last born, the light of my light, the one who pretty much revamped the word of being a mother, as well as just being a person. My baby, my last born, Caden Julian Anderson, which we call him here at home KJ. So Caden was born May 12th, 2018. I pretty much sneezed that baby out, like literally achoo, and he was out. When I was actually going to work, I try to go out until the last moment. And this is something that I kind of beat myself up about, and I do blame myself. And then, my girl Cassandra and Simone, they're always like, stop beating yourself up, it's not your fault, and blah blah blah. I remember going to work, and it was like lunch break, and I was in the lunchroom with one of my other coworkers, and I had my head down and belly big, legs open, head down, and I'm just resting. And then I get up, and when I sit up, I feel a gush of water at work. Like literally a gush of fluid came out, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm not due until June 1st. I remember looking at my coworker, and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I think my water broke. And she's like, what do you mean you think your water broke? You had plenty of kids before. And I'm just like, well, my water's never broken with any of my other kids, so this would be the first time, so I'm not sure. I think my water broke. So I get up from the seat, and there's a big old puddle stain in the seat, and I'm just like, oh shoot, my water broke. And she's like, well then let's go. Now I work in the hospital. I was working at Columbia Hospital, Presbyterian on 168th, and I didn't want to give birth there. I would have preferred to go to my OBGYN. So I immediately went to my boss, and I told my boss what happened, and then she was like, oh my God, how are you? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm not having contractions or anything. I'm actually okay. And she's like, okay, so you're leaving for the day? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna call my doctor first, and I'm gonna go. So I called my doctor, and I'm driving to, actually my coworkers, they all helped me out and lead me out. I'm driving to my doctor's office, and I was like, oh shoot, I didn't call my husband. So I called my husband. I said, hey honey, I think my water broke. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, I think my water broke. So he's like, well, I'm gonna meet you at the doctor's office. So we go to the doctor's office, not the hospital. We go to the doctor's office, and we were at the doctor's office. I'm pretty much calm. I'm not having contractions, but I do feel fluids coming out of me. He checks me, and he puts me in the stirrups, and gets me all speculum inside, and starts looking around. And then he said, well, I do see fluids. And he then gets like a tong, like one of them little metal tongs with the circle, and then gauze, and then he puts it inside of me, and he's pretty much sopping up the fluids that's in there. Tells me to cough like maybe 3 to 5 times. And then he's like, well, I don't think your water broke. I'm not sure what's going on, but I don't think your water broke. So I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, just go home, and if anything happens, then you can go to the emergency room or whatever. So I go home and I'm just home, not having contractions, but still springing a leak here. So pretty much I just put on a pad and I go to work the next day. I know, don't shoot me, don't come at me, but I go to work the next day and I pretty much tell them, hey, today's gonna be my last day. Unbeknownst, they were having a baby shower for me that day. So, I pretty much, my last day was my baby shower day. So Thursday, my last day of work. Friday, I'm home and I'm still springing this leak. I feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's not like crazy uncomfortable, but I do feel uncomfortable. That Saturday on the 12th, I wake up and I am in pain. I mean, okay, this is it, honey. I'm going into labor today. This baby's coming out today. So, oh, and by the way, the couple of days, yes, I was still leaking fluid. I go to the doctor. I call the doctor. The doctor says, come to his office. I go back to his office and then he checks me and I'm like having contractions. I'm like in the waiting area and I can't sit. I'm like, you know, feeling the pain. And we go into the doctor's office finally and he checks me out and I am like 2 centimeters dilated. So he tells us to go home for an hour and then come back. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like whatever. So we go home. I'm home and I am going through it at home. Literally, I'm not even in my house. I'm in my dad's house with my sister and I'm feeling the contractions. The more I'm standing up, the more I feel him coming down. And, you know, I immediately tell my husband, I said, listen, you got to call the doctor back because I'm going to the emergency room. I don't care. Like, I feel him about to come out of me. And obviously, for some reason, when you tell these doctors something, they feel like you're over exaggerating. But I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm an expert, but I mean, this is number 5 that I'm about to give birth to. So I think I know when something is opening and dude's about to come out. He called the doctor. The doctor said, okay, just come to the emergency room. We go home. We go to the emergency room. My dad drives us. He's like shooting, passing red lights, going down because like literally with every contraction, I feel Caden coming down. And like naturally, like I'm not even pushing at this point. He is naturally coming down. Get to the hospital. I'm literally waddling to the entrance and my husband is behind me. You know, he had the bags and he's like walking behind me. And I said, you got to get me a wheelchair. You got to get me a wheelchair because I got to sit down because every time I walk, I feel pressure. And he runs inside. He's like, I need a wheelchair. My wife is about to give labor. Security guard, damn security guard, I guess he don't see me. So he's like, sir, calm down. What are you talking about? Then when I finally approach and I'm hunched over, waddling over, he's like, oh, we need a wheelchair. Like, dude, obviously he's asking for a wheelchair for a reason. My husband wheels me. Security guard said, congratulations, guys. And, you know, just go whatever, wherever he told me to go. I don't remember the floor. All I know is he's wheeling me. We get on the elevator. As soon as the elevator open, my doctor's right there. And he's like, oh, so you're ready, huh? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. So we get into the room. The nurse, they're trying to prep me. They want to do blood and all this stuff. I said, listen, let me tell you something, ma'am. This baby's about to come out of me. And then she said, okay, well, you got to get undressed. I don't know if y'all ever seen Bruce Almighty when the episode when Jim Carrey like took his clothes off and it was like it flew off. That's how I was. Like literally my clothes shot off. I ain't care, like shot off. Gown went on, hopped on the bed, and I was pushing. And the nurse is like, no, don't push. And don't push. And I'm like, listen, I don't have to push. This baby's coming out whether or not. So now they're quickly trying to rearrange the room. And my husband, he's in the corner. He's never really been, too keen with the babies, but you know, he's there. He's always there. My legs is in the stirrups, and they transformed this bed into the delivery bed. And Dr. Pan, he's feeling, and he's like, oh wait, you still have the bag? And I'm like, I still have the bag. Like, I've been leaking for like how long? Because the nurse, actually going back, the nurse thought my water broke because there was fluid all over the bed. So he got the little water bag breaker, and he stuck it in, and only a little bit of fluids came out, and he pulled whatever water sack, whatever came out, whatever. He said, okay, the head is right there, I'm ready when you are. And like, literally, he said push, my man came out, like bloop, out, one push, and he was born. And it was so quick. The nurses joked about me the whole time I was at the hospital, and talked about how he literally, like, she literally sneezed and he came out. Like, the doctor said push, and she said, and boom. The first night we were there, I had Caden, and you know, he was just quiet. He was just so quiet. But I don't know. They always say a mother knows when something's off with the baby. And for some reason, I just felt something was off with him. And I remember one of my old friends, they came. Caden cried. And Caden cry was so soft and so quiet. And she was alarmed by it. She was like, that's his cry? Oh no, how can you hear that? You're not going to hear him crying at night, because he cries so quiet. Like, his cry was literally like a mouse squeaking. Like, he was just so quiet with his cry. And I was like, I know, right? Like, it's really quiet. So, you know, that was another flag for me. When he was born, I did joke about how he kind of had the Benjamin Button disease, because he looked, when he came out, my baby looked like an old man. He looked like an old man. So I love him. I love him, but he did look like an old man. When it was coming close to my release date, the doctor noticed, the pediatrician, before being discharged, the day before being discharged, she noticed that he was a little yellow, which means he was jaundiced. So they took him, and you know, he was under the light for a bit. And I remember saying, I knew something was up. I just knew something was off. And my husband's like, stop saying that. You're always trying to wish something on these kids. And you know, he got upset with me. But I was like, no, I felt it. I felt something was off. And they had him under the light. And the next day came, and I'm getting discharged, and I couldn't take him home with me. They said that, you know, his hemoglobin levels hasn't come down, or they were low. I can't really remember, but they were going to keep him. So, but they were going to discharge me. So all I'm thinking is, so I had to leave without my son. That's never happened before. Like, this, I've always left with my kids. Felt like they were keeping my baby. For what? I can put him under the light. Like, what do I need to do? Just give me what I need to give him. And apparently they needed to keep him under the light. So I said, listen, call me for whatever. And I mean, I would get calls 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Miss Anderson, we ran out of breast milk. Don't worry, I got you. I'm coming there. I drove out 2 o'clock in the morning. I would be driving to the hospital to drop off breast milk for my baby. 6 o'clock in the morning, if they needed me to, I was going there to drop off breast milk for my baby. because one thing I was very adamant on is making sure my babies have breast milk at the beginning stage. 1 day, 2 day, and then finally the 4th day, I came in and I checked on them and I got a reward. They gave me a reward for being the best breastfeeding mom ever. Like, they were like, the lady was waiting for me and waiting for me, and I'm just like, thanks for the reward. What, can I take him home? Like, can I take him home? And she's like, oh yeah, no, that's the other reward. That's why you're getting this reward, because you're able to take him home. And we were jumping up and down. We were so happy. After 4 days, we got to take Caden home. And they gave us so much stuff. They gave us so much diapers, formula, even though I'm not using the formula, but I was happy to just put them to the side. And they gave me a baby bag, and they gave me like information, just a bunch of helpful stuff, which I cared nothing about. I just wanted Caden to come home. So now we bring him home, and it's beautiful. He's home with us. The crying is still squeaky, but it's fine. I'm on high alert. I put he was in a bassinet. We kept him in a bassinet because his cries were so tiny. I wanted to just keep him so close to me. And he was fine. So the first couple of weeks, fine. And then after a while, after like maybe the 3rd week of him being home, he started making these weird noises. And it was like a gagging noise. And I'm just like, that's not right. So instantly I go to the pediatrician, and she says that, oh, it seems like he has reflux. And I'm just like, oh. So they give him medication, and I give him the medication. He's taking the medication, and it's like not really working. So I go back to the pediatrician. I said, hey, you know, it's not really working. He's still making the noises, and now they're becoming more frequent. And she's like, okay, well, you know, give it time. We just started it. But in my head, I'm just like, you know, after a week, it should be doing something, you know? Give him the medication as directed, and still it's not working. Now he becomes a month plus, and I decide, no, one night it was like just constant, like every minute he's just making this noise. I'm like, no, babe, we got to bring him to the emergency room. So we decided to bring him to the emergency room down over by Presbyterian, where I worked at the time. And they said the same thing. It seemed like he has a really bad case of reflux. I actually had a video. I don't have the video anymore because I changed to stupid iPhone and they wouldn't transfer over my videos. So I can't even show you the video of him gagging. We bring him to the emergency room. They say that he has reflux. First of all, they didn't even like really touch him much. Like they checked, they did the stethoscope where they, you know, heard him and they looked at the video, but they really didn't say much other than, yeah, we believe it might be reflux too. So they gave us medication, and pretty much the same medication, and we went home. So we went to the hospital 6 a.m. We got out the hospital 10 a.m. I remember this like yesterday. I remember coming home. He was sleeping. So, you know, when babies sleep, mommy sleeps. So I went to sleep. And then I literally felt like I just went to sleep. And then Arsene wakes me up. And he's like, babe. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, KJ's making funny noises. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, listen. And literally, he's like, And I'm just like, that sounds like he's having a hard time breathing. And I call my mom, and my mom's like, you need to bring him to Monty. So I bring him to the Children's Hospital at Monty. And if anybody ever been to Monty in the Bronx, there ain't no parking there. Okay. So I told my husband, take him, go check him in. I'm gonna go look for parking. So I go look for parking. Literally, as soon as I turn the corner, there's a parking there. I'm like, look at God. Hello. Nothing but God. So now, I wasn't there for that, for when my husband came in, but my husband was, as soon as I came in, I said, hi, my son, my husband just brought my son in. He was just having issues, and they was like, yeah, Caden Anderson. I said, yes. She was like, yes, quickly, come in. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I come in, and she said, yeah, right there in the corner. So I go at the triage nurse, and the triage nurse is like, hi, Miss Anderson. Yes, I just rushed your husband over there. I was like, rush? I was like, yeah, he's over there. So my husband was like distraught, and he was like freaking out, and I'm like, what's going on? Where's Caden? And he was like, babe, they just took him from me. They took him and ran. I'm like, so what happened? He's like, I don't know. So now I come up, because my husband, he doesn't like to ask questions. So I come up, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And I look up, and I see we're in pulmonary. So obviously that means, okay, he's having issues breathing. So I see that they're souping him up, and the nurse practitioner comes to me, and she's like, hi, your mom? And I said, yeah, I'm mom. And she's like, so we see that his O2 is at 89%. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he's having trouble breathing. Is there anything that's going on? I was like, well, we just brought him to the emergency room earlier, and they said that he was having reflux, and they gave him medication. Then we told her what medication that he was taking, and she pretty much was like, okay. They called for x-ray. The x-ray tech came, and they did the x-ray on him. And I don't know if you ever read an x-ray, but cheat notes, whenever you see an x-ray and it's a dark gray shadow, that's not good. So come to find out, his left lung collapsed. So now they call for the respiratory aids, and they came with their machine, and they're hooking him up to actually they called for them first, and they realized that the respiratory that he was receiving, sorry, I had to retract. They called for the respiratory. They gave him, was giving him oxygen, and I remember them telling me that he was a little bit agitated, and I couldn't hold him, so I asked Dad to hold him, and my husband was holding him, and he literally looked like a fish out of water. That's when they decided to do an x-ray, because the O2 literally kept fluctuating between 89, 90, 91. 89, 90, 91. It would just go up and down, up and down. And when the x-ray tech came, that's when they pretty much diagnosed that his left lung had collapsed. This NP, I don't know. I can't remember her name. I don't know who she is. But when I tell you that she was going off on whoever was upstairs, she was like, if you guys don't get me a room right now for this kid, we're going to lose him. And when she said that, I was like, what? Is she talking about my kid? Like, my baby? Are we going to lose my baby? Instantly, I looked at him, and I looked at our scene, and I was like, can I hold him? Because in my head, I'm like, okay, well, if he's gonna go, I have to at least hold him. And when I held him, I remember looking down at him, and the alarms went off, and I just kept saying, no, don't go. Do not go yet. I cannot be the last person that to hold you and you're gonna go. Like, you can't die right now. You cannot die in my arms right now. I remember saying that to him. I said, you cannot die right now in my arms. You can't do that. And instantly, in that same breath of me saying that, they come, they're like, okay, we're coming, we're bringing you guys upstairs. And I said, okay, so I'm about to get off the bed. She's like, no, Ma, we don't got time. You're just gonna go for a ride. So they pull up the bar rails and they're wheeling me and KJ along with the machine, and we're going to the NICU. Riding up there, alarms are still going off, and I'm just like, hold on, we're getting there, hold on. And I'm talking to him and, you know, singing to him at the same time. And we get upstairs, and literally as soon as we get upstairs, they grab Caden and they go into his room. And I counted, until this day I remember, there were 13 nurses and doctors, probably NPNs, but there were 13 people in my son's room, and 13 were all standing around his bed, blocking me. I couldn't even see him. Like, I had to like look through cracks of arms and just to see him, and nobody was touching him. Nobody touched him. Nobody was, they were just looking at monitors and looking at him, and they all was just sitting there or standing there trying to figure out, how did this 1-month-old lung collapse? How did it go from him having a reflux issue to him now having a total lung collapse of his left lung? The alarm went off again, and we were losing him again. And this time, I mean, we were like really losing him, because it passed 89 and it went down to 87% on the O2. So finally somebody came to me and they was like, hi, your mom? And I said, yes, I am, Mom. I just want to know what's going on. And she said, yes, we want to know what's going on, just like you. But we will tell you this: if we don't hook him up to a ventilator, that he will die tonight. When I heard the doctor confirm that I was gonna lose Caden that night, I said, listen, you do whatever you need to do to save my son. You do. I consent for you to do anything you need to do to save him. And I signed the paper. I couldn't go in the room because it was a procedure, was on a ventilator. And I remember coming in to see him on the machine, and I was like, this is my son. He's not doing too good. And instantly I thought about my church, and I thought about calling my pastor, and it was just so much thoughts. Like, my prayers is not strong enough. I didn't feel like my prayers were strong enough. I needed someone more stronger. I needed prayer warriors to pray over my son. I needed somebody to pray for my son. I needed angels. I needed so much, because I was terrified and I was scared, and I thought, I am going to be a mother who lost one of their kids. That's all I was thinking. And we went home, because they said, there's nothing more. He's pretty groggy. He's out of it, because they did have to, put him in medication, because, they did a procedure. So he was so groggy. And then we came home. We came back the next day. Every day, me and Arsene was there. Every day we were there, making sure he was okay, making sure he was fed, breastfed, until that one day I just couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep up with his breastfeeding, because They ended up putting a feeding tube down his nose to his stomach. And then I don't know what nurse did this. Because all my other nurse, Mary and Bruce, like those two nurses, shout out to you two, like they were the best nurses ever. When they weren't there, whatever nurse was covering, like they did not care to call me. My number was posted right there, and they just decided to just switch him on formula. Granted, yeah, I couldn't keep up with the breast milk or his feeding, but you know, you could have gave me a warning like, hey, boo boo, we're about to give him some formula. Like give me a warning. Give me some kind of warning. Like, I got milk of gold here that you just went and put to waste. So when we got there, he was just getting out of his grogginess, and I just remember wanting to hold him. I couldn't hold him. I couldn't hold my son. I just couldn't. And it was scary looking at him. It really was. Sorry guys, I'm losing my light. It was so scary looking at him, and I remember every single time we went near him, he would make this face like, what's going on, mommy? What's going on? And I remember Arsene was like, it's okay, Papa. It's okay. You're okay. You're okay. And then alarms would go off, and then I'm like, what's going on? And they were like, it's okay. It's just that he hears you and his heart's just beating a little fast. So we had to leave. So whenever he would get agitated, we would have to leave, because if his heart races, then his lung is racing, and then, you know, he couldn't. So I remember the 4th of July was the only time we did not go. It was our anniversary. We didn't go to the hospital, and we did tell the doctors that we weren't going to come in today. And I remember my sister and her boyfriend at the time, you know, they were trying to make us feel better. We had a little tiny barbecue, and, you know, I just couldn't help but feel empty knowing that one of my kids weren't home with me. And then we went to church the next day. We prayed and we prayed. And I remember the pastor asking for the sick, and I immediately went up there and I said, God, if he can just get off the ventilator, if he could just get off the ventilator, I would be happy with that. And we went to the hospital after church, and he was off the ventilator. It was like, oh, Mom, we didn't think you were gonna come. It was like, no, we missed yesterday, so we were coming today. And it was like, yeah, Mom, we wanted to surprise you. He's off the ventilator. He's now just on oxygen, and he's doing good. He's holding up. And we were so excited. I'm like, thank you, God. And it was like, and you can hold him if you want. And I'm like, yeah, I want to hold my baby. And I held him. And it felt so good. It felt like I just gave birth. It felt like I just gave birth. And I was just like, oh, I'm holding him for the first time all over again. And my husband held him, and then we were able to feed him. And days went on again, and then that final day came when they took him off the oxygen, and they said, okay, Mom, well, you know, he looked like he's stable, and his lungs, we did an x-ray, and lungs was looking good. And we want to run a few more tests, but it seems as if he'll be able to go home. So if he's able to pass the room temp or the room air test, which is pretty much he's off the ventilators, he's off the oxygen, and he's just breathing in the room air and nothing goes on, then we're going to bring him to the step down level. And if he passed that level, then he's out the door. Did the room air test and he was good. We went to the next floor down. I was able to spend the night with him that night, and he was good. He was amazing. He was such a fighter, and we took him home the next day, and we were so excited. And then from then, it was just wonderful, sort of, because there's still the question of how did his lung collapse? And now he's a bit of delayed. He's 2 and he can't walk yet. He's not talking. He doesn't say mama. He doesn't say dada. He doesn't point to stuff that he wants. He doesn't say juice. He doesn't say a lot of stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of questions that run through my mind when it comes to what was not done, you know? And sometimes you as a parent, you just don't know. You don't know the questions to ask. You don't know what. So he does have a lot of specialists. So he sees a pulmonary doctor. He sees a cardiologist. He sees, because the pulmonary doctor was actually the one who saw the x-ray and saw a hole in his heart and told us that, you know that he has a hole in his heart? Has anybody told you that? So he had a heart murmur. So we've been referred to a cardiologist. We were referred to a GI because of the reflux, because he does have reflux. He actually has it now as we speak. Like, he doesn't keep anything down, which caused us to also see a nutritionist because his weight is way under. He also sees a ENT doctor because he had failed his hearing test. So they referred him to see an ENT doctor. An ophthalmologist, only because he does this thing where he turned his head. So his pediatrician thought maybe the reason why he does that is because he's having a hard time seeing. Getting ready to see a neurologist because of the fact that he's not walking or anything. And we've noticed that the left side of him is pretty weak. All of this, he also has therapists. So he has an OT with sensories, because his senses is like very sensitive. So hearing, touching, tasting, feeling, seeing, all of those senses are very weak. He can't eat certain foods. He doesn't really know how to chew. Everything that I feed him has to be mashed up, so a lot of potato. I try to push him with certain foods, and if I do push him too far, he will choke. There's a lot that he is going through, but there is a lot that he has accomplished. So he's crawling now, and he's actually crawling very fast. He can pull himself up and stand up and hold on. PT is teaching him how to walk because he has a physical therapist. Vision actually just wrote his progress report, and they're saying that his vision is doing very well, where his ophthalmologist actually had prescribed him glasses. I didn't want him to wear glasses, so I did my research, as well as one of the vision therapists gave me a recommendation of doing the patch, where you put a patch on his eye and you leave it there for like a couple of hours a day. And so far that has been working, and his vision is pretty good, and he's able to look at stuff. So before, it was like this eye would turn in while this eye is looking at you, because he would be focused on like two things at once. Can now answer to his name. So if I call him Caden, he will look at me. If I call him KJ, he will look at me. If I call him Papa or Sweetie or Honey, he will not answer me because he knows those are not his names. So you have to be very particular in what you call him. If you're gonna call him a nickname, you make sure you're looking directly at him and you're saying the nickname. But normally KJ and Caden is perfectly fine for him to answer to. He's smiling now. Before, oh my God, he would not smile. And now he's smiling. He smiles a whole lot. His smile is so gorgeous. He has such a gorgeous smile. He's little by little allowing me to hug him, allowing me to hold him. Before he wouldn't allow me to like hold him, but now he allows me to, you know, hold him and cuddle him. And that was just sensory type thing, you know, the feeling. There's a lot that he's accomplished, and you know, now that he's 2, we're still working with him, and I'm just so happy that he's here at the end of the day. After you hear this story, I'm just so happy that he's here, and I'm happy that he's, you know, breathing, and that he's just a wonderful addition to our family. And I have been talking my butt off, and I said I wasn't gonna cry on this video, and guess what? I didn't cry. My eyes did water, but I did not cry because I can't cry. I have no choice but to be happy and rejoice and just be happy that he's alive and well, and God has answered my prayers for him to be healthy and strong. And what more can I ask for? So once again, baby boy, happy birthday to you. And when you get older, I hope you watch this video. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you afterwards what I did. And I just want you to know that I love you. Me and daddy love you so much. Your brothers and your sisters love you so much. And our family would not be completed without you. Okay? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, notification button, so you can get alerts whenever I upload. And just thanks for, you know, joining on my journey. And I just find it so therapeutic of just telling you guys everything. And I'm an open book. I don't mind talking my life. It's like, hey, only God can judge me. Thank you again, guys, for watching. Mwah.
I'm a seasoned vet. They thought I was Aaron Rodgers. Wait, my G's in check. Do you believe I'm blessed? Permanently tattooed, allergic to fake. I'ma let it sneeze at you. Meantime in between, I let it breathe. That's cool. According I'm a seasoned vet. They thought I was Aaron Rodgers. Wait, my G's in check. Do you believe I'm blessed? Permanently tattooed, allergic to fake. I'ma let it sneeze at you. Me